Many thanks for joining me today. This is Crosstalk. You're watching Enterprise Television. Kingsley Bass is my name. We're talking state police today, and I will be examining if this is the security solution in the country or this is another pandemic in the making. Yes, let's talk about this, or you say one of the hottest security debates in the country, and that's President Bola Tinubu's latest comment that creating state police is now unavoidable. It says Nigeria's worsening insecurity demands a homegrown approach where each state can run its policing tailored to local realities. But critics warn that this could maybe open a fresh can of worms, from political witch hunts to clashes over jurisdiction. Well, we've got two brilliant guests on the program today with me on Crosstalk to discuss this very, very interesting matter. And yes, the big question regarding this is simple. Well, maybe not so simple. Is state police really the silver bullet for insecurity in Nigeria, or a ticking time bomb for democracy? Yes, whether this is a ticking time bomb for democracy or the final solution. I'm joined again, as mentioned, by two very patriotic Nigerians. Well, let me bring them on board and then we get the conversation started. Once more, Kingsley Bass is my name. Welcome to Crosstalk. Well, I'm joined virtually today by both guests. One is the executive director of RULAC, and I need to mention that RULAC is the Rule of Law and Accountability Advocacy Center. Okechukwu Nwaguma, the executive director, joins me virtually. Many thanks for joining me today.
And good afternoon.
Yeah, many thanks. And well, political commentator Jimmy, joins me virtually as well. Jimmy, thank you for joining the conversation.
Always glad to be here. Thank you very much.
Appreciate that. Well, let's get straight to the big question. Well, this state police, the final security solution we might need to the many security challenges in the country. Is this the silver bullet for insecurity in the country? I'll begin with you, Okechukwu Nwaguma. What do you say?
Okay, thank you for inviting me. This debate is not new. It started from the onset of the administration of President Tinubu, and we are still on the debates. But of course, you know that these debates, predates President Tinubu. We've had this debate about state police long before Tinubu came on board.
Yeah.
It does appear to me that each time government comes under increasing, scrutiny, or when they feel the public demand to address rising insecurity, they introduce the debate afresh as a means to evade responsibility or to appear to be doing something. The arguments are already out there. I don't think there's anything new that anyone is going to say, but just for the purpose of emphasis.
The bit of a network challenge, I suppose, connectivity challenge. Hopefully we can reconnect with Okechukwu Nwaguma to continue the conversation. He was right there trying to establish his point regarding on this particular subject matter. Okechukwu, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right, fantastic. Yeah, so at some point, I missed your comments. I think that's better now. So yes, you were saying that for the purpose of emphasis.
Emphasis, yes. The first thing is to understand why they clamor for state police. Why are state governors establishing states controlled outfits? In Anambra, you have the Agune Chamber. In Benue, we have, states controlled. In Kano, all over the country, in Enugu, every state has one form of, state controlled outfit or the other, which all give us an idea, into what state police, will do because this is a question. It's a question about ownership. Should state governors be allowed to own? Should states be allowed to own their own police? And the question is not being asked. Why is the police, as it is presently constituted, not effective in discharging its mandate that warrants this clamor for state police? And the other question I want to ask also is, what is the cause of insecurity? Is it the police? And my answer is that we need to understand, one, what is causing insecurity, and two, why police are not able to address insecurity. The cause of insecurity are social and economic dysfunctions, things like poverty, unemployment, exclusion, injustice, corruption, and the lack of adequate, and then when you come to why the police are not effective, it is simply because police have not been equipped, empowered to discharge their functions. They remain ineffective because all the reforms that have been proposed, including by government reform committees, to empower to strengthen the police, to enhance their capacity to effectively discharge their functions, those reforms have not been carried out. So if you don't do that and then you want to create state police, what you are doing is simply to replicate one problem into 36 states, because you have not addressed the cause of the ineffectiveness, and you want to replicate, failure across 36, states. So now, that many states have not been able to pay salaries of their workforce. So when you create state police, that is an additional burden. State police, state-run security agencies where they operate have been contributing to insecurity rather than, addressing insecurity. Look at what happened in Anambra with Agune Chamber. Look at what Webubagu is doing. Look at what several of them in various states. Look at what they are doing. Is that what? That is what we're going to see with state police. We have governors running as emperors, governors who are in control of their state legislature, governors in control of their state judiciary, governors in control of local governments. And then we want to give them an additional armament, state police, to use to intimidate, to suppress, and to, to repress, basic freedom. So I think that we need to be careful what we're asking for, really.
Right?
Did you hear me?
Yes, clearly. I'm saying that from your point of view, this is not the solution. State police is not the solution to the many insecurity challenges in the country.
State police is replicating the problem. It's replicating the problem rather than addressing the problem.
All right, let me turn to political commentator Ulujimi. You've heard from Okechukwu Nwaguma. He says, oh, well, this would be further, for want of better words, aggravating the problem rather than solve this. What do you say? Yeah, Jimmy, are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Fantastic, yes. Can you hear you clearly now?
Yeah, why I agree with him, I agree with him that, state policing is not the entire solution. But I must say that state policing is one of the major solutions as well. Firstly, the current president, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, has always been an advocate of that. I can remember as far back as 1999 or thereabouts when he was governor, he was actually those who were proposing state policing system, And I also feel that, when we look at it and we say, of course, we've seen several reforms in the policing system that had not worked. But if we take our mind back to since Nigeria got its independence and up to now, the federal policing system we have never worked. So it's not a case of, structure or whatever. It's a case that we do not have enough police personnel, we do not have enough funding for the federal policing system, and that's why we are still where we are today. We have a population of approximately 200 million, and what's our police force like? Central Police, I don't think it's up to 1 million. Even if it's 1 million, it's not enough. And take your mind back to what Zamfara State Governor said a couple of days ago, when he said that he has a contact of he knows the location of these bandits and the rest.
Yeah.
But when it comes to apprehending them, or organizing an operation to arrest these men, the federal police tells you that they have to take orders from above. The good thing right now is that many of these states, because for some time, several years when it was proposed, I think even during the Goodluck Jonathan administration, there were various voices in opposition of state policing system. But if you notice, these northerners, especially from the northern region, are now agreeing that they need a state policing system in order to checkmate the growing insecurity that is challenges that's with us at this moment. And why is that? Because you need policing is local, it's grassrooted. You need local intelligence. You need people who know the terrain, who understand the language, to actually be able to curtail or checkmate, the menace that's going on in those areas. The system we have right now, where you have somebody like, for instance, you're sending Amolujimia, you're sending me to the north where I don't speak the language, I don't know the people, Of course, I'm not motivated. I wouldn't be motivated. I'll rather be scared of what, I'll probably meet there. Let me tell you a story. My elder brother had a friend who was a police officer in Surulere, and he came crying to him one time and, complaining to him that he has been redeployed to Borno State, that he's not going. He was actually crying. My brother was weeping, tears, that what will happen to his family and all of that. At the end of the day, he resigned. He didn't go there, So what I'm saying is that, number one, the funding. We don't have enough funds, for these for our central police or the federal policing system we have, Not at all. There's not enough to go around, and that's what
raised by, that's one of the things, raised by.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, Chukwu.
Yes.
Now,
because of that,
he did mention that states struggle to pay civil servants in the state. So if we're saying that funding is the problem, how then will state governments who are struggling, be able to fix funding challenges?
See, we know why they are struggling. It's not that there's no allocation. And I think why the clamor for state policing system right now is here with us is because of the recent increase in allocation to states. Basi, they have the money. The governors have the money. We all know why it is corruption that has come. Because why do you think they always point to the central when things go wrong? They always want to blame the central. And now people are getting to know that governors should be in charge of things, should be responsible for a lot of things. They are the ones even calling for it because for the fact that, especially in the northern region, for the fact that, they've been finding it very difficult, lots of indigents and residents in their states are now sort of against them. Now they want to control the security apparatus themselves to say, okay, let's even work with, let's have our own blueprint to fight this thing head on, and that's why it's not when you say, they don't have salaries to pay, they do have money to, at least we've seen some states increasing the minimum wage of many of their workers. They have a security vote, which we don't even know how much it is. They keep up. So the fact that let each state take care of their security. Security challenges are peculiar to all states. What is happening in Anambra is different from the northern region and the rest. So let each state look at what challenge they have a blueprint, have their own apparatus, and fight it on.
Okay, Chukwu Nwaguma, you've heard from Jimmy and his standpoint on this state police debate. What do you say? How do you respond to that?
So I heard him well, and I agree with his analysis in terms of identifying some of the challenges, bedeviling, which are the bane of police effectiveness. But I don't think that those still provide any justification for state police. I say this because we have seen examples of what governors will do with state police, with what they are doing already with state-controlled apparatuses in their various states. Now, I agree with him in terms of funding, if the issue is funding. So if you're not able to fund the police, the police as it is, what is the guarantee that state police will be funded? If the issue is manpower, as he mentioned, and I agree with him, so why don't we talk about recruitment and look at the corruption that has, trailed police recruitment, police promotion? State governors, by the way, are members of the police council, members of the police council. The president is the chairman of the police council. State governors are members of the police council. The Inspector General of Police, the chairman of the Police Service Commission, are all members of this police council. The police council hardly meets. What are the mandates of the police council? To meet periodically to advise the president on issues of security and to advise the president on appointment of the IGP when there is a vacancy. You know that police council does not fit, and that is the platform that provides opportunities for governors to make inputs about how policing can work more effectively, but it doesn't happen. So you find a situation where the recommendations about how to transform the police are not being implemented. Now, people are talking about this. I agree with him that policing is local, crime is local, and there is need to involve the local people in policing. But how do we do that? Is state police the only way to go? I think we should talk about community policing, which is part of the Police Act. And community policing, by the way, is also democratic policing. That is the means by which we involve local people in policing. Now, if we decentralize policing authority and policing resources, you know that federal government's funding of the police at the moment represents a mere contribution. Most of the funding that the police get come from state governors and from private entities. How much does a divisional police officer get to run operations at the local level, which is the local level where
okay. Another glitch there with
Sorry, I lost out briefly. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
So I was talking about decentralizing policing. The way to decentralize is not to create state police, and I'm saying that we should be talking about community policing.
Yes.
And when we talk about community police, for example, you see, local divisions are the closest to the people. How much do they get from the whole allocation to the police are trapped at the force headquarters? Meanwhile, beyond the force headquarters, the commands, you have the state commands, you have the area commands, you have the divisions. How much do the divisions get to run basic operations? So why don't we then think about how to devolve resources so that they get to the local divisions, and we allow communities to set up their local community vigilantes that are created by the people and accounted by the people and work under supervision with the police at the local level. That way, we don't need police. State police is a recipe for police states. With state police without checks, without the necessary checks. And how do we, if we have not been able to check abuse by the federal police as it is, what is the guarantee that state governors will not use state police, do what they are doing with the Bubago, what they are doing with Agune Temper, what they are doing with all the various state-controlled law enforcement outfits that are created by the states across the country? Look at the violence. Look at what happened to that NYSC lady in Anambra State. It replicates across the country. So I mean, so my point then is that we need to implement reforms that will make the police work, put in place insulate the police from political control, and then we can deal with police at level of decentralized resources. Because what makes police effective is not whether it is centralized or decentralized. America is the best example that people give about decentralized policing. But American police still grapples with corruption, inefficiency, racism, and all that. But we have countries like Denmark, Ireland that run centralized policing, but they do better in terms of human rights and efficiency. So police efficiency does not depend on whether it is centralized or not centralized.
All right.
So we can do.
Yeah, we can do better. I get your point, Jimmy. I know you want to respond, and you'd like to respond to Okechukwu's last comment, but we need to go to break. When we get back, we'll pick things from where we've stopped now, and that's with Jimmy, who would be responding to that. Let's go to break. This is Crosstalk. You're listening to Enterprise, or you're watching Enterprise Television here, and we'll be back in a moment as we continue the conversation on state police in the country. Do stick around. Watching Enterprise Television. Kingsley Bass is my name. Okechukwu Nwaguma, Executive Director at Rule of Law and Accountability Advocacy Center, RULAC, is my guest today, alongside political commentator Dolu Jimmy. They joined me virtually, and we've been discussing state police in the country. The President, Bola Tinubu, recently, while receiving governors from the northeastern part of the country, led by Governor of Borno State, but Professor Babagana Zulum, did say that, well, at this point in the life of this country, if you like, to put it basically, state police is or cannot be avoided. And he did hint at the fact that the executive, his administration, could work with the National Assembly to put together what could be the state police that the country, that could work for the country, that the country would be proud of. Well, again, my guests today, both gentlemen, are talking to me about this. Okechukwu Nwaguma has stated his point as to the challenges that we could be faced with if we proceed with this, and he believes we're not ripe for this. Jimmy, believes that, well, the time to do so is right now. Localize, decentralize, and localize police in the country. Well, just before we headed to that break, Jimmy, it was your turn to respond. You heard Okechukwu Nwaguma's point of view regarding the challenges that we could be facing if we proceed with this move, as hinted to by the president.
Well, truly, there will be challenges. I'm not going to deny that. But he mentioned about Denmark and some countries in Europe who have a centralized police. But one thing you have to agree, or one thing you should look at between or compare between Nigeria and the US, for instance, it's the population. What's the population of Denmark? I doubt if it's up to Lagos State. But the US, it's way more than ours. And any population that is up to 200 million and above, you can have a centralized policing system. And again, for the fact that we even are practicing a federal system where we're supposed to have federations, by law, by every rules, we should have a decentralized police system. You can't run a centralized police system in that kind of system that we're running. And that's why the US, where we actually, where we are operating our system from, where we replicated it, they have a policing system like that. So you have to consider the population as well. It will be effective in Denmark because their population is quite low, but it cannot be in Nigeria as big. And we've tried community policing IGPs have tried a different version of state community policing. It's not working. Why? Because we're still doing the same thing over and over again without the inputs, the larger input from the locals there. That's the thing, the fact is that once you can have people within that area, like, for instance, in some parts of Texas, where they have precinct and the rest, they have a sheriff. A sheriff in some precinct in Texas are voted in for. Imagine the head of the police, being put up for elective position. They have been elected to it, which of course helps to sort of divorce or make them independent of the governors. There are various ways to make it. Detach or reduce the power that a governor can control in a state policing system. In New York, that's the same thing. You know that the mayor of New York has more power over the governor, over the police. And of course, there are independent bodies that check on the mayor so that you don't have an abuse of power where he's had to dictate what it is. Whatever it is, just as Mr. Okechukwu mentioned, definitely you have corrupt practices in different places. But it's not in all the states that you have corruption in all their police department.
All right.
There are some police department that for instance, where that sad occurrence happened concerning Charles Kirk, they will tell you how the policing system, the Utah police department there is, how effective they are, and the rest, many of them have less corruption. Funding, if the governors, as he mentioned about the police governing council, which many of them will not attend it because at the end of the day, we're not seeing results, But when you have a state, controlling their policing system on how they tackle crimes, which is peculiar from one state to the other, you give them the right training, the right orientation, the right remuneration, because then you probably have people who are interested. Right now, we don't have young graduates. We don't have many of our young people do not see themselves joining the Nigerian police because of the ways that they bastardize the reputation. But if you have a state policing system, I'm sure, based on the kind of remuneration, the training that is coming, you will have a lot of people who want to be part of that system that will make it very, very professional as it is. It might not be so well along all the states, but I tell you, states that are serious in ensuring that they have a good policing system, that will help. It will even help in attracting investors, because if I know that your state policing system is quite up to standard, of course, investors will want to come to places where they know that their properties,
we've got to begin to wind down now, and because of time, let me quickly turn to Okechukwu Nwaguma. Okechukwu, well, as we begin to close, if you say we're not ripe for state police, recognizing the challenges, recognizing some of the hurdles that we might face if we go implementing that now, what then must be done? What must be done? What should we put in place to ensure that we, move forward, get closer to the situation where we might be ripe for state police? And how soon do you think we might be ripe anyway?
Successive administrations in Nigeria have set up presidential committees on police reform to advise government on the best ways to reform the police and make the police more effective. Under President Olusegun Obasanjo, we had a police presidential committee in 2006. We had another one in 2008. Under Yaradua, we had one. In 2012, we had another one under President Jonathan. And if you look at the reports of these successive presidential committees, including civil society panels on police reform, the recommendations are almost similar, very far-reaching recommendations that government has not implemented. After they receive the reports with the recommendations, they put them in the shelf. Then when something happens, they create another panel. There's no political will to implement far-reaching reforms. The government seems to like to leave the police the way they are. I told you that this whole debate about state police is a distraction. It's a distraction. And I said, community policing, what it means is simply the police working together with the local people to identify, policing priorities and to agree on solutions to address local security problems. It is not correct to say they have been tried and they didn't work. It's simply that they have not been implemented the way they ought to be implemented. You can't implement community policing without adequate funding, without political support. So governments should concentrate on implementing reforms that its own committees have recommended to make the police more effective, rather than thinking about creating state police, which will be a weapon in the hands of state governors to oppress the people and to harass and intimidate their political opponents and to rig elections. If you want to see an example of what they will use state police to do, look at what the Bubagri is doing, look at what Agone Temple is doing, look at what similar outfits across the country, look at what they are doing. That is what they will use state police to do.
Okechukwu has stated what we must do. Previous recommendations should be followed, implemented to make this police a lot more viable and effective. Jimmy, well, your final thoughts. We've got to go.
The thing is that you see all those recommendations will not work because the police that we have, the police force we currently have, is beyond redemption. Let's be honest ourselves, and it's not just today; it's in years. And that's why those recommendations will never work. And that's why we need to turn our attention to state policing system, because it sort of fragments, the issue. Lagos State, take care of your own policing system, come up with your models, and the rest, there will be no problem. I understand that he mentioned about those, what do they call them? They're more like militias or just vigilantes. The one in Anambra State, we saw what happened with the NYSC. But these kind of groups that have been created are not totally backed by law. And again, because of the fact that these states have been warned not to usurp the duties of the federal police we have, and that's why we have these kind of people, going haywire. Because then they don't have a proper structure in picking those who will be part of the system, and therefore you handpick whoever comes who is just trying to come in there and just wants to use their newfound power to harass people, But when we pass a law that says each state take care of your policing system, we can avoid all of that, because then governors will be serious. They are backed by law.
Well,
they have
Jimmy, you don't know too that this state militias, in quote, they are backed by state laws too. Yes.
Yeah,
they are backed by state laws.
Yes.
But you know how in Nigeria, even when you're backed by state law, they cannot entirely take over the operations of the Nigerian police force. The police force is still the main security outfit there. So there's a limitation to what they can do. And that's why you have them going about abusing their power.
I think the point, Okechukwu, without belaboring the point, I think the point Okechukwu was making is that with the little powers they have, we can see the misuse, the abuse of power. When we get to the bigger picture of policing, will this not happen?
Okay, let me give you an example. Yes, haven't they been sacked? But they've been sacked because they belong to them. Now tell me, how many Nigerian police personnel who extrajudicially killed people or brutally, beat up people, how many of them have we been able to say they have been sacked? We can't trace them. One thing that you notice about it is that when something happens, the next thing you hear that probably that person, police personnel, has been transferred to another state, and we don't hear anything about them.
No, but to be fair to the police, some persons have been charged
how many of them
and prosecuted, tried under the police orderly room system.
Come on. We've
seen suspensions too. We've seen prosecutions, Jimmy.
Basi, what we have right now, compared to what these militiamen or vigilante men did in Anambra, compared to what the Nigerian police have done. That's the reason why we even had in 2020 NSAS, where of course, even after the disbanding of NSAS, we still have police. That's why in Anambra State, they could have something like Okozu, police station, where people were killed every day, where people were. That's the thing. We have seen more abuses. We've seen more brutality, extrajudicial killing from the federal policing than state. What we have, many of these vigilantes.
All right.
My point is that if they're well backed with law,
yes,
we will get it right.
We've got to go. Okay, Chuku, I'm tempted to just give you 30 seconds, for your final thought, maybe 60 seconds, just to wrap, and then we can go.
The same people in these outfits that he says are state militias will still be the same people that will compose the state police. They are not going to get state police from outside, from the moon. It's the same people that the government, various state governments have put together into these outfits. And by the way, they are all the Anambra outfit is established under the Anambra State Homeland Security law. All of them, Ebubagu is established under the law. And when you allow state police governors to create state police, it's still the same people that they will put in the state police. And who says that the errors, and the point I'm making actually is actually in emphasizing my point that what the wrong we are seeing with the police as it is, what is a guarantee that they will not be transferred? The same thing will be transferred to the state police. What are you going to put in place to ensure that they're not going to do the same thing that the police is? So unless you put in those measures that will check these abuses that we're talking about, that will make sure that state governors will not have absolute power, they will control over them and use them the way they like. What measures will you put in place to ensure that doesn't happen? I mean, that's even under the current situation. Governors are sending police from their states, from Imo, to go to Abuja and abduct a critic and bring back to Imo and detain. So, I mean, so what are we saying?
Jimmy,
Hello?
I see you.
Can I just add something? Yes. The example he made about, yes, taking a police officer, sending their police to go to another state, and if the state policing system, definitely that will not happen because there will be jurisdiction. You can't cross my border. That would definitely not happen. If we are serious about state policing system, it cannot happen. You can't cross my border to come and arrest someone, and again, let's look at some of these vigilante groups that have been created. Each state has their own. When last did you hear about Amotekun harassing people in the Southwest? Let me use Southwest as an example. What is happening in Anambra State is quite different from Lagos or from the Southwestern part.
There have been examples of Amotekun operatives misbehaving. I can give you examples.
Sir, I agree with you. There will definitely be those characters. Of course, there will be bad eggs. But many of them have been dismissed. They've been prosecuted based on the fact that the Southwestern governors do not want such to happen. Lagos State has a neighborhood watch. How many of them have been caught harassing people or whatever? Even though we look at it, I feel it's just So
right.
What I'm saying is that it's the same thing. What we want is each state take care of your policing system. If another state will now create a policing system and absorb all of those elements into that is their problem. They will have to find a way to ensure that it's standard. But other states will have to create their own standard. Everybody will now have to be in US, the New York Police Department is quite different from the California or the Los Angeles own, and everybody is peculiar to theirs, as it is.
Okay.
So
all right.
what I'm saying is that it helps. It helps in ensuring that whichever place I am, I'm trusting a policing system that will work for me.
Okay.
I can invest there, I can reside there, I can compete. It brings in competition from states. It also attracts investment as well.
Gentlemen,
so I will pick
in the final analysis. In the final analysis, government should address the social and economic dysfunctions that are causing insecurity. Police only responds to symptoms. If we don't address unemployment, we don't address exclusion, if we don't address injustice, as long as
I agree completely with that. Of course, those are things we need to address.
State police will take us nowhere. As long as the root cause of insecurity is not addressed.
All right, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you so much for your comments. Very patriotic. Of course, divergent views permitted. We can have different views on what the solution should be, but genuinely said, for the good of the country. Appreciate you both for being a part of the conversation today. Well, again, I've been joined by two patriotic Nigerians today on Crosstalk here at Enterprise Television. Okechukwu Nwaguma believes state police could brother Jimmy believes state police could finally be the game changer for safety as well as for accountability, while Okechukwu Nwaguma fears this might become a dangerous tool in the hands of powerful state actors, state governors and the rest. Well, what do you say? What's your belief? You can stop by the comment section. Let's know what you think regarding this. We'll continue to follow development. We'll see how this conversation or where this leads, especially the comment of the president when he welcomed governors from the northeastern part of the country. It's been Crosstalk. Again, I'd like to thank Okechukwu Nwaguma, Executive Director at RULAC, that's the Rule of Law and Accountability Advocacy Center, RULAC. Many thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Ulu Jimmy, I know, political commentator, many thanks for joining me as well.
Thanks for having me as always.
Appreciate that. It's been Crosstalk. Stop by the comment section as mentioned to make your comments there. I'll be reading and responding. Kingsley Bassi is my name. And until next time, we say may God continue to bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Bye for now.